Hello guys, and welcome back to today's video. And in this video I will be talking about how I felt about seeing some of the Trump campaign ads after the election, and why I still think Trump was the right president, and why I think Kamala's border policies have failed drastically. So if you guys don't know me, my name is Miss Leanne, and I usually post videos Mondays through Fridays at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. And I am a bachelor in political science with a double minor in psychology and sociology, and I will be graduating in December. So we need to get on with a couple of things before actually getting into the context. So I also wanted to let you know that in the last video that I posted, I did not mention who the creator / charity / organization of the month is. So the charity of the month is Higher Hope, which is founded by the creators Kendall and Josh Thomas, who also founded Mile Higher Media, which is based in Colorado. They have different shows like Lights Out, Planet Sleep, Mile Higher, True Crime Podcast, and The Sesh. And they also have a wellness company, if I am not mistaken. So I am really excited to say that I will be sharing that charity / organization of the month. Everything will be linked down below in the description box regarding that. The Higher Hope Foundation was just recently founded, and it helps people who have families who were involved in really traumatic crimes like murder. So all that info will be down below in this description box. And then the creator of the month is the comment section with Brett Cooper. Now, I also wanted to let you know that she also works for Daily Wire, and she is literally my age, 23. And the Daily Wire is a website / TV station founded by Ben Shapiro, and they are conservative politicians who are either moderate or full-on Republican, and that's what I related. And that's what I relate to the most. Now, I really like the comment section with Brett Cooper because she just has a lot of really good information that she shares, and it's always super interesting. And I can totally relate to her. I have been a Democrat for a little bit of a while, and I decided to really cast my vote out to Trump because of the things that he is going to change. Which I will also, this will just be kind of like a rant type of video, so be prepared. I didn't do an outline or anything, but I just kind of wanted to explain what some of the Trump ads I have seen. So I was watching YouTube, and I'm on it 24/7, literally. It's probably not good, but there were a bunch of his campaign ads that I felt stood out from Kamala's, because I was trying to look on both sides of the political spectrum, and still I stood aside Trump. So anyways, one of the ads that really got me was his things with immigration policy and how Biden and Kamala Harris have essentially ruined the border crisis, and how Kamala Harris said she would not change a thing that Biden has done. So I just wanted to first and foremost say that we all know what the border crisis is like. We have immigrants living in Colorado, Chicago, Ohio, Springfield, Ohio, Texas, and everywhere else where you can think of, because there are Mexicans in the Venezuelan area, Dominican Republic, well, I don't really know, but people from Mexico are going in to the United States illegally. Now, why is this an issue? This is an issue because of lack of border policy regulations that were put in place, but Biden and Kamala Harris decided to take them out because they thought it was such a great idea. So another thing that I really wanted to reiterate is the amount of murders and the amount of lives people have lost. So something that the news doesn't really keep in touch on as everyday people is that one thing that I did not know is about the 13 Gold Star families. I don't really remember their names, but I remember seeing the ad on Trump's YouTube page, and it is just devastating how Biden and Harris's border policies have really affected these individuals and their families. And I also wanted to reiterate that these were called the Gold Star families. Some terrorists in Afghanistan killed these Gold Star families. This is a very, very brief summary, so I do not have all my information laid, which I should, but I will be doing a deep dive of the 13 Gold Star families, along with a lot of other cases on my list, but I felt like the 13 Gold Star families, among a few other cases, need to be prioritized before Trump runs his presidency, which will happen like January 20th of 2025, I think, because I feel like when we have these stories out here, we will really know why he is running for president and what he stands for. Another one I can think of is the murder of Jocelyn Nunn Gray, I think. If I'm butchering her last name, I am so sorry to the family. I will personally reach out to them on Instagram or something. I just need to figure out how to locate them and everything else, and I would like to reach out to them and, do something, do like a video call or something with them and just get their perspective on how the border crisis has affected these people. And I am a very sensitive person, but I am also a person that is very desensitized to true crime of any type, except for animal cruelty, of course, that I still bawl over every day. But this case just got me crying because it was like how destructive Biden's border crisis really is as a society and how it affected this 12-year-old girl. I think there were 2 illegal immigrants that were from Venezuela that murdered her. Like I said, this is very word vomity and very unplanned because this is just my commentary. So if I don't have my information, I'm very sorry. It just got me crying and frustrated because it's like, how could you let people who commit more crime and who have also increased the rate of human trafficking and crimes in the USA. USA is supposed to be a free country where people are supposed to get all of their rights. Everybody gets rights no matter what gender or sex or nationality they are, which is another thing I'll get into in a minute. Another one that I can think of that they talked about but didn't really touch on was Laken Hope Riley. Now, this was about a Georgia nursing student who was murdered off campus, and it was an illegal immigrant as a suspect. I do not see anybody talking about these stories. I do not see anybody talking about Laken Hope Riley, which was really big back in February. And I've not really seen any coverage, any deep dive coverage regarding these issues on Jocelyn Nunn Gray. And then another one is Rachel Norwin, I think. Don't quote me on it. I don't remember. But she was also another victim that was murdered by an illegal immigrant. And how do I know? Because I actually watched the Donald J. Trump ads and stuff like that. And people can say, oh, he's evil, this and that, he's demonic. No. I think what you need to look at and you need to do your research on is that Kamala is the demonic one. Kamala is the racist one. Kamala is the one that is silencing people. And you want to know why I know that? Because I have watched J.D. Vance and Trump rallies in places like Wisconsin, Michigan, all over America, saying that Kamala has mocked Christians, which is a guaranteed fact. And, this wouldn't bother me as much as if it was another Democrat, anything but Kamala Harris. Even Joe Biden didn't do that, and that is saying a lot. My initial vote was Biden, but yeah, I voted for Biden. because at first I didn't like Trump. Yeah, Trump may be a polarizing figure who may have some things to say, but he is a great human for the country, just like J.D. Vance. I think J.D. Vance is who I admire the most, besides the president and the Trump administration. People are saying, like, oh, how Trump is racist with black people. I am proud to say that my brother voted for Trump because prices need to be lowered. He's not racist. And another one that was happening was Trump doesn't respect all religions and is anti-Semitic. Don't quote me on it. I don't know how to say it. But people were saying online, like, oh, Trump is so, like, that they're so, like, Islamophobia and all of these things. And that is completely false, as Kamala is very against religion. Do you remember in October where she mocked these two Christian individuals when they said Jesus is Lord, and Kamala said, I think you're at the wrong rally. Now, what does that say about a human, let alone somebody who's running for president? Even Hillary Clinton didn't do that. But I also wanted to reiterate on some of that stuff in a minute, because J.D. Vance is somebody who is a proud, devout Christian father raised with very humble roots, Christian family, this and that. So is Trump. And he and Trump are saying that all religions should be able to leave as freely as they want. So this goes for Christians, Islams, Evangelical Christians, Catholics, what else? What other religions? Jews can live freely. And I feel like I'm going to say this and people are going to disagree with me, but I feel like under Donald Trump's presidency that Israel and that the war between Israel and Hamas would have never happened under Donald Trump's presidency. I think another thing that also relates to this is why is Kamala Harris and Joe Biden looking at third world countries and giving them more money than the people who were affected greatly by Hurricane Milton. So I saw on the Trump website, and I will link the YouTube site down below in the description box, but he says when he interviewed these people, there was a FEMA relief for the American citizens who were affected by that hurricane of $750. Let that sink in. That is the same amount as 2 months of rent in low-income housing. And that is somebody's paycheck for a month. Or even 2 weeks, but let that sink in. If you were affected by a hurricane of any sort and they only gave you $750, no thousands, no millions, whatever, $750.00 point blank, how would you feel? Well, I would say I would say as a regular citizen, without the Social Security, that would be just my month of rent. That wouldn't cover any utilities, this and that. But people are going to be like, oh, they can go to work. And no, they can't, because they have no way of getting there. Their cars were ruined by the water. So, like, the math isn't really mathing, and it's embarrassing. But, you know, Kamala and Biden will give hundreds of millions, if not billions, to other countries like Ukraine and Hamas, and it's a mess. So anyways, what was another thing I saw? I will just be linking his actual channel down below, but I'm trying to think of other things that I saw, and I feel like this is just like a very word vomit conversation of how bad the Biden-Harris administration really is. I live in an apartment complex by where I go to school, and I have people who say, and they're like 2-3 generations older than me, no offense, but they were saying, this one guy, I'm not stating names for any legal reasons, but nothing legal actually happened, but he was stating that Trump is a fascist, that he's like Hitler. I think a lot of people have been saying that too, which just bugs me, that Trump is a lot like Hitler, that they're the party of violence and all this stuff. Meanwhile, if you want to look at the Democratic side, and this doesn't go for all Democrats or all Republicans, this is just what I observed within the presidential election. And no, I never looked at both sides. And no, I never looked at one side. I never was like, oh, I just looked at the Republican side. I looked at both sides and did my research very, very, very well to make sure that I knew who I was voting for and who was going to be running for president and who I think will make a better impact for the country than Kamala and Biden-Harris campaign. So, he was saying like, oh, you're a gaslighter like Trump, you're this like Trump, you're compared to Trump in so many ways, or whatever, this and that. And I'm thinking, you know what? I am fucking proud to be like Trump, because I stand by his issues. I stand to ban abortions, and it was stated that he said that he would consider women victims who were of rape and incest and other forms of sexual assault, that they may get an abortion because of how traumatic it is. I mean, I was raped, but I was never impregnated. So, and I'm not trying to say that to be mean, but when there are people on the Democratic side that I do agree on, I agree with more so of pro-life. But I also wanted to say, last night on Facebook, or was it early this morning, somebody was posting something on Facebook how they struggle to understand pro-choice. So pro-choice is basically whether you choose to abort the baby or not, and they usually choose to abort the baby. Now, the woman usually chooses whether she keeps the baby or whether she doesn't. But I think one perspective that I saw on my Facebook feed that I never really thought of was, what about the man? What about the man if he's not a criminal? What about the father that has no criminal record, that has never had a history of assault or domestic violence? What if he wants that child and that woman is being self-centered? And another thing is, you have to look at the family members. Do they want a sibling? And if all of those guidelines say yes, they should keep the baby, no question about it. And I feel like that is a moderate perspective when you look at it. Now, the Democrats' perspective is the woman's right, which I briefly talked about a few minutes ago. And the Republican side is all babies, just like every human, have cells in their bodies, and they're human through conception throughout the 9-term pregnancy. Now, do you remember as a kid, if you had a sibling, if you had a brother or a sister or a niece and nephew that was going to be born, do you remember having a pregnant aunt or mother, and you would feel their tummy and feel the baby kick? Because they have life. So that doesn't mean you should abort them. And even if you didn't want the baby after you delivered, there are options like safe havens and adoption centers, let alone adoption. The adoption system and the foster system is a whole other topic that we will talk about another day. The foster system is a fucking mess and a nightmare. Like the CPS, like even if you don't want a baby at birth, there are safe havens. Most hospitals and fire departments and police stations are all considered safe havens. They usually say it on outside of the building. Now, I don't know for every state. Every state may be different. Every state may not be different. Every state may not have safe havens. And then that may be where there's a blurred line. Now, this is a very blurred line. So, feel free to leave your comments down below in the description box, and we can talk more about this in the comments and be very respectful in the comments. There's no need for hate and riots, and there's no need to be negative in the comments below, as people may have different opinions and different experiences as everybody else in the world does. Okay, now anyways, another thing I was saying was abortion, immigration. What was another big one I was saying? What was another thing in the ads that I saw? I think those were the main things. So immigration and abortion and foreign policy were the things that I talked about, and the other stuff I talked about, which I don't even remember what I talked about, but I will watch this video thoroughly with creating a title. So I definitely want to hear all your comments down below on what you think of these issues. These issues are very heavy topics. When I was doing my research, I almost didn't want to vote because I didn't know what side to believe on, but then I was like, my vote is worth it. So I decided to just vote, and for anybody who's ever planning to vote or is turning 21 or over 21 during the 2028 presidential election, I would look at all of to make a respectful and time-worthy decision is to look at the social issues that they stand for. Like, so for example, abortion, like, do you stand with it or do you not stand with it? So look at the social issues, come to your opinions, and then vote based on that. I know election day is already passed, obviously, but this is just like an example of how I would do it. So personally, just leave your comments down below in the description box, in the comment section. While I cannot freaking talk. It's like 3 in the morning when I'm filming this because I just want to get the best ideas. If you guys really like this video, make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, and turn on all those post notifications for when I upload a brand new video Monday through Friday, and I'll see you in the next one. Love you. Bye.